Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ringside Cinema. I am Money Mike, and today we're going to be looking at the new report that the WWE will not be bringing back the Crown Jewel Championships that we saw last year. And I wanted to talk about it because I thought what would have been the matches that we could have gotten out of this. And I think it's interesting that they would cancel it or they would not bring it back when you have one match on the card, Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins, sitting right there for the taking. That would have been so intriguing, so interesting, and they're not going to do it. Now, I do think it is more of a Saudi Arabia thing. I think if Crown Jewel does go back to Saudi Arabia next year, then I could see them bringing this back. Now, if we go back to last year, it was Cody Rhodes versus Gunther, the WWE champion versus the World Heavyweight champion. Then you had Liv Morgan versus Nia Jax. On the women's side, for the Women's Crown Jewel Championship. And I think from a story perspective, I think you could build interesting matches with this Crown Jewel Championship if this was like an annual thing. And even if you wanted to bring back like the brand versus brand, which I've seen some fans say, with Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis, as the general managers, they should bring back the brand versus brand for Survivor Series. And I think that would be kind of intriguing. And I think too, for the Crown Jewel Championships, I think if you made them interesting and made the stakes more than just some championship that you talk about one time and then not talk about ever again, I think it would be interesting. Like, maybe you do Raw versus SmackDown for Survivor Series, and I don't know, the winner, and maybe it's inside War Games, and it's the winner of the Crown Jewel Championships gets to determine which brand has the advantage at Survivor Series War Games, Or the winner of the Crown Jewel Championships determine which brand gets the number 30 pick in the Royal Rumble, and then the loser gets number one pick, number one entry in the Royal Rumble. So something like that, right? I mean, you can make it unique, but I think the stories, I think the one thing that I was looking forward to was the Cody Rhodes Seth Rollins match. Because this, to me, especially since you had Seth Rollins cash in on CM Punk and not during the Cena or Cody Rhodes match, I do think it is interesting. I think it would have been intriguing to have Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins once again. And, for it to be, even if it is for the meaningless Crown Jewel Championship, the story between Cody and Seth has evolved so much that it would have been so intriguing for them to do this match for the Crown Jewel Championship this year. Now, I don't think Cody should win. I think, Seth and his faction should win if they were to do this match. But, or Seth would win because of Braun and Braun security. But, like, the thing is that I think the history between Cody and Seth has evolved so much from when Cody Rhodes came back a couple years ago and to when Cody beat Seth Rollins 3 straight pay-per-views, PLEs, and now we're at a point where they're both world champions on their respective brands. And we go back to WrestleMania 40, Seth Rollins being the shield for Cody Rhodes. I think, for because I want to see Cody versus Seth so much, I think they should maybe reconsider it. I think when we look at the women's side, and again, I'm taping this before Monday Night Raw. Naomi is making an announcement on Raw tonight, which I'm not going to speculate. There's a lot of online speculation of what it could be. And if it is something where Naomi is going to be gone for a while, then you have Tiffany Stratton on SmackDown, and you have who, right, on Raw, right? Because you have Stephanie Vaquer, who is supposed to get a world title match at Clash in Paris. I guess we'll find out on Raw tonight whether what is the future of that match or who she might be facing, because that was built up since Evolution when Stephanie won the Evolution Battle Royal to get this championship opportunity in Paris. So if Naomi does have to vacate the title, again, I'm not going to speculate here, but if Naomi does have to vacate the championship, who do you go to? Liv Morgan's injured, and if you want an intriguing matchup for Tiffany Stratton, who do you put her against, right? Do you put the title back on Rhea? Like I said, Crown Jewel is in Perth. And I would imagine Rhea Ripley is going to probably get a championship match at that show anyway. So do you just want to go ahead and give Rhea the championship? And then do you want to really do Rhea versus Stephanie at Clash in Paris? Or would you rather save that for WrestleMania? Do you want to flip the championship back to Io Sky? And do Io versus Stephanie? I mean, hell, in this scenario, if Naomi is not going to be around to continue her run, then honestly, I would just give Stephanie the championship here and just go and just push her to the moon, like literally. Like, I'm sure they were wanting to hold off on Stephanie's championship run, but I mean, we've seen Io, we've seen Rhea, and it seems like Io is starting kind of a new story with Asuka. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, we've seen Rhea. So you have Roxanne and Raquel in the tag division. So what do you do, right? I think to me, whatever the outcome they choose, they should just go ahead and put the championship on Stephanie Vaquer and just go ahead and just rocket her to the top. Which would then at that point give us Stephanie versus Tiffany in this hypothetical Crown Jewel Women's Championship match. And honestly, when you look at Stephanie versus Tiffany, I mean, that's a pretty interesting matchup, but I don't think it's going to be on the level of, say, Cody versus Seth. So do you find a way to take the championship? Again, this is all hypothetical because there's a report that WWE may not be doing the Crown Jewel Championships this year. But in just hypothetical scenario, right? This is what this video is about. And who do you go on SmackDown, right? Let me look at my phone here real quick. Who's on the SmackDown roster? All right, looking here on my phone here. Okay, so you got Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair. They're obviously in the tag team division right now. Out of fire. I mean, Bianca's injured. I think that would have been an interesting matchup if you would have done Bianca versus Stephanie or Rhea or Io. I think that would have been interesting, but she's injured. And hell, even if Naomi is available, and again, I'm taping this before Raw, so if she is out a long time, you could have put the championship go from Tiffany to Bianca, and then make the Women's Crown Jewel Championship match between Bianca and Naomi to kind of further that storyline. Chelsea Green, I don't know if the WWE wants to put Chelsea in the world title scene. Like, I know they talked about on WWE Unreal, but of her winning the Rumble, I mean, Jade Cargill, seems like they're really trying to push Jade Cargill winning the championship down. Julia's the U.S. champion at the moment. Mention Naya. I mean, again, it's one of those things where you look at the SmackDown roster for the women, and it's like, we need something. We need a shakeup. Tiffany needs new opponents. So I guess you would just do Stephanie versus Tiffany, but again, I think Bianca being injured is kind of hurting the SmackDown side of things. So, hypothetically, I don't think the women's would have as much interest. I do think if the Crown Jewel Championships were to come back, I do think Bianca versus Naomi would definitely have been the better match to do, again, because of injury and whatever's going on with Naomi. Obviously, that can't happen, but if Bianca, again, if they do these championship matches and Bianca is healthy in time, you could switch the titles. Do Bianca versus Stephanie, Bianca versus Rhea, Bianca versus Io at the show at Clash in Paris. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think WWE should bring back the Crown Jewel Championships? Again, like I said, Cody versus Seth to me, I wish they would bring this back just so we can get Cody versus Seth again. Like I said, the evolution of the Cody Seth rivalry at this point has changed so much that I would have loved to have seen this match. As for the women's side, obviously there are some things that are out of WWE's control for an intriguing matchup, but again, what can we do, right? Let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you guys think? Should the WWE bring back the Crown Jewel Championships? Should that be a yearly thing? Even if Crown Jewel is not in Saudi Arabia? And it is Forbidden Door week on the channel, so hit that like and subscribe button, as I do have 2 special Forbidden Door videos coming up this week. I've been your host, Money Mike, and you've been watching Ringside Cinema.